following pre-recorded program is a part of the video conferencing series produced by the Instructional Technology Support Center at Middle Tennessee State University. The program series provides quality educational programming for K-12 teachers and students in the region. For more information about our programming, please visit our website or contact us via email or telephone.
Welcome to the Satellite and Webcasting Center at Middle Tennessee State University. I'm Connie Schmidt, your program producer. Pat Jackson is our director. I'd like to welcome our satellite viewers, our cable television viewers, and our webcasting viewers. We invite all our participants to call in today with questions on our toll-free telephone line at 1-866-904-8352. We're delighted to have back with us today Dr. Zaf Khan, who's a faculty member in the Department of Elementary and Special Education here at MTSU. He's joined in the studio by some of his MTSU education students. Today's presentation is Positive Behavior Supports, Behavior Management Strategies That Work. I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Zaf Khan.
All right, well, welcome back, folks. If you've joined me from the first presentation and now the second and finally the third, and if you did not attend my first and second, well, this is your chance. I'll have a quick review of some of the stuff we've covered before. Well, my name is Dr. Khan, and I'm with the PBSI project, which is a grant-funded project between State of Tennessee, Department of Education, and MTSU. First of all, let me start by asking one quick question. Did you know that in the United States today, on an average day, in an average classroom, we have 30 students in this class? And in this particular class, if you had to actually break down the class, did you know that in this average class, 10 of your students will be students who come from a different ethnic background? There will be 10 from a different racial minority. Did you also know that 6 will speak a language other than English? Furthermore, 4 will actually speak Spanish. Wow. And 1 will speak in an Asian language. I want you to also consider the other fact that 1 of them will be speaking a language, one of more than 100 other languages. 6 will live in poverty. But here's the other side, and this is part of my presentation to you today. I also want you to know that 6 of the above mentioned students, 6 out of those 30, will exhibit behavior challenges in your classroom. Yes, and I call these 6, I have a very special name for them, I call them the infamous 6. Let me talk about the infamous 6 right now. Here is the rest of the story. Going to my doc cam, I want you to look at this sentence here. Of the 6, 3 teachers you have had interactions with the infamous 6 will be forced into early retirement. Here's the next one that you'll find out. Of the 6 that's causing these problems, 2 teachers will change their profession because of the infamous 6. And the next one that will probability of happening is very high, is that 3 excellent teachers will not be tenured because they lack the skills for effective classroom management because of the infamous 6. And here's one that I really interests me. 1 teacher will cry behind a closed door and will later blame the school system for getting a condition which I call SIP, school-induced psychosis, as a result of engaging the infamous 6. And lastly, one of the parents of these 6 will verbally abuse the school principal, after which the principal will say under his breath, "I just don't get no respect anymore." So the question is, what do we do, Dr. Khan? Well, the good news is that you are here, you are in the right place, in the right time. And thank you for tuning in. Let me start out by a simple piece of shocking news. And I've mentioned this in all of my presentations, that did you know, as a teacher, students who continue to misbehave are actually, read my lips, victims of failed behavior interventions. Because sometimes we only know what we do know, and that's all we know. So what I'm going to do today is, if I don't get to cover everything that I'm going to try to cover within the hour, you might find I might rush through some of the presentation material, but you have a handout in front of you, so please feel free to reread this after we go through this presentation today. Here's one very interesting law. I call it the 80-20 principle. Did you know that 80% of your behavior problems will definitely come from 20% of your students? Actually, this morning we talked about that in my behavior management class, right, Ken?
Yes.
And we also talked, Ken, about something really interesting about the bullies. Can you tell us what I said at this, with this piece of statistic when it comes to bullies?
With the 20% of the student population, 7% will be bullies.
Absolutely. And that is another piece of statistic. Did you know that out of the 20%, 7% will be bullies? Okay? And now if you are going to listen into my bullying seminar, which is coming up next semester, I will talk more about how to bully-proof your school, your classroom, with some very systematic and targeted interventions. But today I'm going to talk to you more in a generic basis. So with PBS, I'm always asked this question, Dr. Khan, so what is your guiding philosophy behind PBS? And it deals with this two words. One is PR. Actually, it's not public relations, it's prevention. Write that down, prevention. And the second one is actually more prevention. So what we're trying to do is create a prevention philosophy, because we do not want behaviors to escalate to a point where it becomes disruptive to the educational process. So just to recap, the PBS model is based on this triangle. 80% of our students would be primary, 80 to 100% would be receiving a primary intervention. We talked about a system-wide classroom management that would be available. The 15% would be your secondary intervention measures, and your 5% would be your tertiary, which is the targeted intervention. For purpose of understanding today is that we're going to be focusing on the targeted interventions. This is where we're getting one-on-one. The secondary intervention is more using the check-in, check-out system, looking at an entire group of students with the same presenting behavior problems, okay? So I just want you to go back to some basics about behavior 101. If you've taken a behavior management class, you will know that any behavior is functionally related to the teaching environment. Yes, yes, yes. Your environment, the way you set it up in your classroom, has a lot to do with the predictability of certain occurrences of certain types of behavior. The second piece you need to know that behind every behavior, there is going to be purpose and logic. It might not be logical to you, might not be rational to you, but it's certainly rational and logical to the person exhibiting such a behavior. Some more basics to just sort of catch you up. We all know that behavior is actually learned, and never ever assume that children know your rules and expectations or social skills. They actually need to help the executive functioning in their brain to be taught these skills through cognitive and metacognitive strategies. The other issue that we face on an ongoing basis is that we need to realize that every social interaction that you have a child teaches him or her something. I don't want you to write this down. This is the most important. If there's nothing you remember today, I want you to remember this. Always separate the behavior from the child or the person. Never, ever put these two pieces together. When you're dealing with the behavior, deal with the behavior, okay? And that's the most important point there. And the other issue is use a teachable moment opportunity every time it presents itself to you, where you can actually reinforce appropriate social types of skills. The next piece on basics is that we all know that behavior communicates a need. There is an exact need that they want. They either want to get something that's reinforcing, or they want to avoid something that could be aversive. The next thing we need to know is that it is a need determined by observing what happens prior or immediately after the behavior, okay? So knowing this fact that this need happens right before the escalation of a behavior or the trigger of a behavior is important stuff, right, Charlie? Because we can stop that behavior from taking place right away, okay? And I'm going to show you a graph in a few moments that talks about that. Here's some additional research that supports what I'm going to talk more about, that why punishment does not work. They have found through research, Mayer, 1995, and Salzer and Asaroff, they found something interesting, that the more we punish, the more we increase aggression in our students, the more likely vandalism will occur, the more likely truancy would occur, and also an escalation in the dropping out of schools, of students in schools. So what is the solution, you might answer? Well, the answer is not that. It's not something new. It's things that what I want you to do today is to re-examine your fundamentals on what you believe in, what you've been trained with, and I want you to start to think about this in a very systematic way, okay? So you take your teacher capacity to enhance the probability of coming up with strategies that would work. And today I will share with you some of those strategies. If we do not get to all of them, please feel free to continue reading in your own time, okay? So we need to have this seamless continuum, like that triangle that we talked about. You need to have primary, you need to have secondary, and you need to have your tertiary interventions in place, all working systematically, synergized to produce one outcome, and that is positive behavior support. Okay, so let's talk about what a problem behavior. Your problem behavior always is going to be defined as what is currently happening. What is the current pattern? Your replacement behavior is what do you want them to do instead? So here's what PBS does. This is the beauty of PBS. PBS interventions focus on increasing those replacement behaviors, not simply reducing the problem behavior. That is pretty much what this is all about. So the good news is, folks, at MTSU, we are trying to get PBS across Middle Tennessee and all across Tennessee. So we would love for you to come to us and work with us in trying to get your schools started on this PBS model, okay? So you can see a lot of research is behind PBS in increasing appropriate types of behaviors.